Vintage motorcycles have a charm and a style all their own, but old bikes aren't typically reliable or practical by today's standards. So what if you've just gotta have the charisma of a legitimate classic motorcycle, but with some of the features and low maintenance of a modern bike? That's what I set out to do with this 1974 Honda XL250, and I'll give you a rundown of my top mods and upgrades in this episode of the Shop Manual. This is a 50-year-old XL250 that I restored and modified in celebration of Cycle Gear's 50th anniversary. Cycle Gear is RevZilla's sister company, and as part of its Golden Jubilee, we are giving away this one-of-a-kind motorcycle, as well as a 2024 Honda Transalp. There's a link to the sweepstakes down in the description, and just so you know what you could win, here's a list of everything that was done to take this old Honda from clapped out to immaculate. Yeah, it was a lot of work, and that's clearly way more than we can detail in one episode. So what I'd like to do is go over the 4 most significant modifications and upgrades I think you can do to any vintage bike to make it more modern, reliable, and enjoyable. An engine needs compression, fuel, and spark to do its thing. So once you've verified the mechanicals of the motor with a tune-up or ideally a full rebuild, the best thing you can do to make any old bike start and run better is upgrade the ignition and fuel systems. The XL and most pre-80s bikes had mechanical point ignition. That is a high-maintenance, low-performance system. Condensers are for cretins, so I upgraded to an electronic ignition. Swapping to solid-state components eliminates all maintenance and gives you stronger, more consistent spark at all RPM, just like a modern motorcycle. If a vintage bike's erratic timing doesn't ruin your ride, its gunky old carburetor might. At minimum, you're gonna wanna clean and rebuild it, but if the carb is too far gone like the XL's was, then you gotta replace it. My go-to for that is Mikuni's VM series of carburetors. They are some of the most reliable and serviceable carburetors you can get. Just make sure you're getting a genuine Mikuni because there are loads of counterfeits out there. Leak-free fueling? Check. Strong spark? Check. Next, the rest of the bike's ancient electrical system. Old bikes have old, feeble 6-volt electrical systems that have brittle wiring, corroded connectors, seized blinker relays, and obsolete flooded batteries that can spill acid on you. It's a can of worms that I didn't want to deal with, so I started from scratch and built the XL an all-new nervous system. The bike's brain is Moto Gadget's MO unit power distribution device. This one little brick manages all the bike circuits and has integrated and self-resetting breakers as well as a built-in turn signal relay. LED indicators give you the status of each circuit, and the slick one wire in, one wire out design really helps reduce and simplify wiring. Out of all the upgrades and modernization I did to the XL, this MO unit is what I'm most excited about. It is a total game changer for wiring custom bikes because it's both extremely simple and highly sophisticated. You can configure it so your turn signals serve as running lights or self-cancel after a specific time or distance traveled. You can make your brake light flash at different speeds and lengths of time. And because the MO unit is Bluetooth enabled, you can configure it all from your phone. It even has a built-in alarm. And on bikes with electric start, your phone can act as a key fob so you can just hop on, hit the starter button, and go. It's pretty cool. That state-of-the-art Moto Gadget PDU is managing an upgraded 12-volt electrical system with a larger DurBoost AGM battery in place of the old 6-volt cell. Since we're running 12 volts now, I was also able to stuff an H4 bulb into the original sealed headlight beam housing, and I also installed tiny and incredibly bright Moto Gadget turn signals up front, as well as an integrated LED taillight out back. And the old meep meep horn that the bike came with is now a thanks to a 113 decibel Denali mini sound bomb. I also replaced the original faded, seized speedometer and tachometer with a tidy Moto Gadget Chrono Classic gauge that's got battery voltage, air temperature, and other modern data readouts. Everything that was weak, dim, and quiet before is now stronger, brighter, louder, and perhaps most importantly, reliable. Welcome to 2024, little Honda. Speaking of the modern day, that's where the XL's fork, triple clamp, front wheel, and front brake came from. Specifically, a 2024 CRF 250F dirt bike. That's because suspension and brakes are a major weakness on vintage motorcycles. And what better way to modernize than with modern components? Just like the carburetor, you could potentially rebuild the stock fork if it's in decent shape, but the XL's wasn't, and I knew I wanted to ditch the stock drum brake in exchange for a stronger, low-maintenance disc setup. So I grafted the entire front end from a current CRF onto the XL. Now we've got a brand new fork with more suspension stroke as well as new bushings and seals, so it has its entire service life ahead of it. And I also installed Racetech Gold Valve emulators to give the front suspension more refined and adjustable damping. Out back, it's a similar story. You don't want to ride on ancient shocks, and the stock ones weren't rebuildable, so I replaced them with progressive 490s. The 490 series shocks have adjustable spring preload and damping, plus they're a few inches longer than stock, which in combination with the swing arm that I lengthened 1.25 inches, gives us more suspension stroke for more off-road fun. And you know what can ruin your fun real quick? A flat tire. New tires are a no-brainer, and I went with the same Shinko Golden Boys that carried Zach and me to the top of Alaska and across Wyoming. However, I'm not calling this bike modernized if it's still rolling on inner tubes. Tubes have done the job for decades, but today there are better options. Options that when you get a flat, you don't have to remove the wheel from the bike and the tire from the wheel just to make a repair. So on the XL, I went tubeless. That's T-U-B-L-I-S-S, as in the inserts that seal the spoke nipples as well as the tire shoulders so that you can ditch the tubes. That way, if you get a flat, you can fix it with a standard rope plug just like you would with a modern tubeless tire. Now, these aren't exactly approved for use on road, but given the lightweight and low speed of the XL here, I don't think that tire balance or internal friction are going to be a problem. So, in my opinion, the best mods you can do for a vintage bike to make it more reliable are upgrade your ignition and fuel system, upgrade the electrical system, improve your suspension and brakes, and ditch the inner tubes. However, when it comes to this XL250, that stuff is just the tip of the iceberg. The engine was rebuilt and has a high compression piston, plenty of parts and components had to be fabricated, and there was loads of cutting and welding required to put it all together. Every single piece of this bike has been restored, and everything old and unreliable has been replaced. And yet, the bike looks period correct and absolutely amazing. And don't forget, this custom XL250 could be yours. We're giving this bike as well as a 2024 Honda Transalp to one lucky rider. You don't even have to buy anything. Just sign up for Cycle Gear's 50th anniversary sweepstakes using the link in the description. And if you watched this video because you wanted to figure out what products and mods are going to make your vintage bike more reliable and fun, well, then you've already won.